Revenge with Karen. When the office Wi-Fi crashed again, I didn't flinch. No groan, no eye roll, nothing. I just switched on my hotspot, reconnected the system, and kept going. That's how things worked when I ran compliance. No drama, no downtime, no disasters. Just results. 5 years earlier, this department was a joke. We were hemorrhaging data, violating privacy laws like they were optional, and one poor intern had a panic attack during an IRS check-in. Now, we were the example. Regulators cited our systems in white papers. Other companies asked for our templates. 3 audits in a row had waved us off because our documentation was that airtight. I didn't need applause. I had login logs, timestamp trails, and the trust of every department that mattered. That kind of trust isn't given, it's earned. One properly filed clause at a time. My office wasn't glamorous. A converted storage closet between HR and facilities. But when something went sideways, when a whistleblower form vanished or a contract looked cursed, guess who got the 2 a.m. call? Me. And I liked it. Quiet control. Invisible power. Everyone else chased promotions. I chased precision. Anyway, if you're still here listening, thank you. People like you keep this channel alive. Most don't hit subscribe, but it matters. Now back to the illusion of safety. The first crack appeared as a Slack message. Hey Jessica, can we chat? Quick sync on compliance workflows. Reorg stuff. It was from Brad, the new VP of Operations. He'd been here 6 weeks and already acted like he'd been born with a corner office. Looked like a startup ad, spoke entirely in buzzwords, and moved like espresso had replaced his blood. When I walked into his office, he didn't look up. Just waved at a chair. So, he said, spinning a stress ball like a Bond villain, we're looking to modernize. Get leaner. Agile, you know. I nodded. Sure. What do you need? He smiled, rehearsed, mirror ready. Just exploring. Some roles might consolidate. You've been here what, a while? 5 years. Right. Legacy systems. Lots of overlap these days. I left without blinking, but something in me shifted. Not fear. Suspicion. A week later, his assistant asked for my compliance access credentials. For backup. I gave her a cloned read-only sandbox. Let them click around all they wanted. Then legal pinged me about an export protocol I'd written. When I opened the file, I saw Brad had updated it. He'd removed 3 verification steps, basically turning it into a lawsuit buffet. I fixed it quietly, but the writing was on the firewall. Merger rumors followed soon after. Talk of a buyer sniffing around. Didn't care much. I had systems to audit, deadlines to hit. Still, I made sure everything was backed up. Every login, every edit, every updated by Brad. The first time he treated me like staff instead of management, I let it slide. He dropped a post-it on my keyboard without looking up. Need vendor risk summary. Simple. CEO wants bullet points. Classic power move. When someone's trying to edge you out, you don't fight first, you watch, document, wait. But Brad wasn't patient. Within days, I'd been quietly removed from calendar invites. His assistant, the one who once asked me how to spell jurisdictional, was listed instead. Files I'd built from scratch were suddenly showing up under new folders. Ops Central / updated by Brad. Updated? Please. He gutted audit notes, deleted cross-references, and replaced 3-tier checks with a single ops approval. It wasn't compliance, it was a bonfire. When I brought it up, he hit me with the corporate condescension special. Jessica, he said, all fake calm, maybe you're too close to this. We need scalable, nimble frameworks. Scalable, I repeated. You mean deleting verification steps across jurisdictions? He smiled, that smug kind that belongs on a billboard. Trust the process, he said, then dismissed me. That night I didn't get angry, just cold. Days later, HR held a reorg update. I wasn't invited, but a friend from payroll forwarded the deck. Compliance was now under operations. My title? Consulting Analyst, Temp. Brad's title? VP Ops and Compliance Modernization. I pinged legal, they hadn't approved any change. Then IT reviewed my admin permissions. Routine, they said. Sure. Soon my badge access downgraded. Cafeteria card stopped working. I had to get buzzed into my own floor by an intern who still called me Miss Jones. I locked myself in an empty meeting room and opened my private archive. Literally watched in real time, as files I'd created were duplicated, renamed, and credited to Brad's team. Some even had watermarks. Updated for Modern Ops Initiative. The email came next. Subject line. Next steps, your role. One sentence inside. Effective Monday, you'll transition to a support position under Ops until reclassification is finalized. Support. 5 years of clean audits, midnight document rescues, and federal compliance wins, and I was being shoved into the intern pool. I stared at the screen, the overhead light flickering like it knew something. Didn't cry. Didn't reply. Just opened a new file. Title: Intellectual Property Original System designed by J. Jones. Saved it. Then went for a walk. Because when they start erasing you, that's when you start writing the ending they don't see coming. 3 days later, they called me into a transition discussion. Brad was there, of course. HR Monica beside him. Expression frozen into empathy. And a third guy from Talent Optimization, who looked like he still lived in a WeWork. Brad started, cheerful as ever. Jessica, first off, we just want to acknowledge all your hard work. You've built a great foundation here. But as part of our new Agile realignment. I smiled. He paused. I don't think he was used to smiles in these meetings. Before we continue, I said calmly, you should know something. The systems you're modernizing, those aren't company property yet. They're registered under my name. Copyright filed. Time-stamped. Metadata verified. Everything logged. So before you reassign my role, you might want to check the IP clause you modernized last month. Page 3, paragraph 5. His smile twitched. I stood up, placed a small envelope on the table, and added, oh, and the board CC'd on the email I sent 10 minutes ago. Legal too. You might want to get ahead of that. Then I walked out. No threats, no theatrics. Just quiet control. The next week, the merger talks froze. Legal launched an internal review. Brad's name disappeared from the org chart, replaced by acting VP Operations, interim. A month later, I was back, new title, new office, same comm. Senior Director of Compliance and Governance. I even hired a new operations assistant. Her name's Karen. Smart, quiet, loyal. And she's really good at spotting men who think they're untouchable. Because revenge doesn't have to be loud, just has to be permanent. It was coming. You could almost taste it. The bland corporate poison disguised as optimism. That flavor of fake enthusiasm HR consultants ladle out when they're too afraid to say, we're replacing you with a TikTok MBA who once spelled compliance with a Y. So I waited. Let the silence stretch. Then Monica finally spoke, her voice syrupy and brittle. Your new title will be Compliance Intern. You'll report to Claire in operations. She said it like she was offering me a tote bag, not gutting my career. Claire, 26, 6-month certificate in risk innovation, and once genuinely asked if GDPR was that old database program, was now my boss. I glanced at the talent guy across the table. He stared at his notepad like it was radioactive. Probably because even he knew this wasn't restructuring. It was an execution, slow and polite, wearing a blazer. No raise, no demotion, Monica added cheerfully, as though that softened the blow. It's just a repositioning. The org chart's flattening. Flattening. That's what they were calling it now. Like a steamroller doesn't flatten everything in its path. I folded my hands on the table. Do I retain system-level access? Brad cleared his throat. Actually, we've reassigned those credentials for security and onboarding alignment. Translation. We're locking you out before you can burn the place down. That's when I knew. Not guessed, not suspected. They weren't just shoving me aside. They were erasing me. Taking everything I built, stamping their names on it, and tossing me into the basement next to the laminator and a bowl of stale peppermints. I stood up. No raised voice. No scene. Thanks for the clarity, I said. Brad blinked. Sorry. Thank you, I repeated. Calm as still water before a hurricane. It's nice when things are finally spelled out. Then I walked out. Down the hallway, past marketing, where some intern was filming a TikTok in front of the company logo. Past accounting, where Kathy gave me that "Are you okay?" look. Straight to what used to be my office, now a wellness nook. My new hot desk sat by the copier that jammed every 10 minutes. Under my desk, a single box waited, already labeled. Somewhere deep down I'd known this day would come. I didn't take much. A notebook. My backup drive. A coffee mug that read "Trust me. Read the fine print." And a sealed manila envelope I'd prepared weeks earlier. Legal. IP rights/timestamp and system schematics enclosed. I dropped it in the internal mail bin. No note. No return name. Just proof. I'd given them one chance to do the right thing. They hadn't. My badge blinked red when I tried to leave. Not even the dignity of a clean exit. Facilities had to buzz me out like I was a delivery driver returning a forgotten lunch. No tears. No shouting. No dramatic exit. I got in my car, drove 1 block to the library parking lot, and pulled out my phone. Logged in, not to Twitter, not to LinkedIn, but to the Mirror backup server they didn't know existed. 6 months ago, after I caught Brad sniffing through file histories he shouldn't have been near, I'd started copying everything. And now it was all there. The real architecture. The original documentation. The update logs. The line of code I'd left buried at the bottom of the schematic. //j.jones.or.doc authored 11/13/9 version 1.0. Do not alter without full attribution. My hands were steady. Cold. Focused. If they wanted to play intern games, fine. But they'd forgotten. I didn't build that compliance system to follow it. I built it to own it. The next morning my badge wouldn't even let me onto my floor. I stood in the fluorescent purgatory of the lobby, box under my arm, while Tony, the same guard who once begged me to fast-track a vendor contract for his cousin, frowned at his tablet. "New access restrictions," he muttered, like that explained anything. "I built the system that's locking me out," I said. He didn't respond. Just buzzed me through, eyes down, like I was already deleted from the directory. I took the stairs. Not because the elevator was broken, but because I needed to feel every step. Burn the humiliation into my muscles. By the time I reached my new desk, wedged by the supply closet, printer jammed, a paper plate with half a rock-hard bagel still sitting there, I was done being humiliated. Now I was calculating. I opened my laptop. Logged in. Password still worked for now. Their first mistake. There it was, the true file structure. The unaltered, original system I'd built. Not the Frankenstein version Brad and his minions claimed as innovation. JJJonesR.SWSV 1.0. Timestamped. Backed up. Authenticated through internal metadata logs. And mirrored to an encrypted external drive. They couldn't touch without a subpoena. I pulled every file. Decision trees, verification paths, conditional flags. Even scans of my handwritten notes from sessions with legal and our third-party auditor. My system wasn't just airtight, it was traceable. Every line bore my fingerprints. I copied everything to a private air-gapped drive. Then printed one hard copy of the core schematic, complete with the proprietary notice I'd filed with the IP office last year. Not paranoia preparation. I sealed it in an envelope, wrote one line in Sharpie. Legal intellectual property rights. Do not open unless necessary. Dropped it in legal's mailbox. No theatrics. No farewell post. No on to new adventures LinkedIn fluff. Just gone. Claire passed me in the hallway, typing on her phone, smiling like she'd won the Hunger Games. I said nothing, because Claire would cry into her ergonomic keyboard soon enough. Back at my desk I packed my box. Nothing fancy, just the essentials. One mug, one notebook, one encrypted drive, and my old badge. The photo on it was from 5 years ago when I still believed hard work mattered. I clipped it inside the box. Not as a memento, as evidence. Then I walked out. Tony looked up as I passed. I didn't wave. He started to say something. Maybe goodbye, maybe sorry, but I was already outside. While they thought they'd stripped me clean, they'd actually handed me the knife. Because compliance doesn't forget. I didn't just build the system. I was the system. The first crack didn't explode, it whispered. A missing hyphen. That's all it took. A single misplaced dash in Brad's mangled version of my architecture triggered a polite email from the buyer's legal team. Hi Brad. Just confirming whether this clause references 2019 Q4B or 2020 Q1A. There's a mismatch between footnotes and audit flags. Brad didn't know, of course. Brad never knows. So he bluffed. It's a dynamic flag, agile logic. I'll have our documentation lead confirm. Which was hilarious since the documentation lead was Claire. The same Claire who once asked legal if FCPA was a type of crypto. At the next all-hands, Brad stood under a PowerPoint of glowing logos and buzzwords, grinning like a toothpaste ad. "We're in early acquisition talks," he said. "Huge opportunity. Buyers already impressed with our compliance overhaul. As if he hadn't duct-taped my work together like a cheap IKEA hack. I wasn't there, of course. I'd been erased, org chart, mailing lists, the whole lot. But absence has gravity. When the buyer's legal team ran the docs through audit simulation, the system coughed. 27 inconsistencies in under a minute. Most were small, technical gaps easy to overlook. But one was fatal. A missing clause on vendor dispute arbitration. The same clause that had once saved the company $1.2 million. Gone. And here's what corporate buyers hate. Ambiguity. "We'll get back to you." It's agile logic. None of that flies. A quiet Slack channel appeared. #buyer questions. Inside it, a thread labeled jj.joneser.doc_confirming source. That file name had survived, buried deep in metadata from an ancient version log. Brad wouldn't have known where to look. Claire wouldn't have recognized it if it bit her. At first, they assumed it was a placeholder. But then they matched the timestamp to the company's zero-incident period. Then they checked old employee records. That's when they found it. Jessica Jones listed as compliance officer during that exact time. But